Hi, my name is Logan Anderson, and this is Josh Sandin, and we are here to announce our new weekly video series called Recreation Lives Here.
Logan and I created this video series to inform everyone about life in and around Windsor's park, recreation, and culture.
We're going to begin each quarterly video with a longer 5 to 10 minute video with an in-depth interview with different divisions within our department, and then we are going to, at the end of each quarterly video, give you just kind of a forecast as to what to expect throughout the next quarter.
And throughout the year, we'll be posting 30 to 45 second long videos each week with a glimpse, something related to parks, recreation, or culture.
Before we get started with this video, we want to give a quick shout out to the Windsor High School video production students as well as their teacher, Mike Vaza, for letting us use not only their equipment, their green room, and then they're going to be also doing the majority of editing for this video.
Now to kick off this video, let's introduce you to our leadership team. We have Eric Lucas, our director, Bob Worthen, our parks operation manager, Wade Willis, our open space and trails manager, Tara Foch, our recreation manager, and Kendra Martin, our operations and facilities manager.
All right, so to first start off this video, we are going to ask Tara a more specific question as far as why were you so gung-ho and optimistic about this video series when Josh and I came to you with the idea?
It really started out kind of as an office joke, and lots of ideas were rolling off the tongue, and then the real thoughts came into play. Sat down, these guys did a Shark Tank scenario, came to the table to the leadership team with a fantastic proposal, and one thing that we really want to do is start telling our story. We impact so many lives every day, if that's from a 3-year-old coming to preschool open gym to someone who's had huge success in the weight room losing weight, or even just a senior who comes and gets that social interaction at the rec center. So I think just getting out there and telling our story of how we're impacting lives every day in our community.
Thank you. We appreciate you kind of giving us the opportunity to run with this idea, and we'll kind of see how it goes. We're excited for all the 2020 videos we'll have this year. All right, so the other question we'll kind of get into is, I think it's kind of good for the community to know a little bit as to why we chose Recreation Lives Here. So do you guys have kind of an insight, and this is kind of open to everyone, as far as why we chose Recreation Lives Here as our tagline?
Sure, we spent a lot of time trying to figure out what is it that we do every day, and what's our impact, and what was the words, or a few words that's easy to remember, catchy, would be a great website. So we spent a lot of time, probably several months, going through a variety of options, kind of part of our Parks, Recreation, and Culture strategic plan as well, to determine kind of what is that tagline that would carry for generations. And we had come up with several, and unfortunately those were taken by other communities in the country or elsewhere. And so we spent a lot of time going back and forth and ultimately settled on Recreation Lives Here. And it took a little bit of time for staff to understand that everything we do, no matter what department you're in, ultimately it is recreation. And when Tara mentioned impacting lives, we reach about 1.4 million people that we know, we count every day. For our programs and facilities and events and trails. When we know that Windsor, a community of 30,000 and growing, is using our facilities and our programs and our trails so much to the extent of 1.4 million people, that they really love recreation. They love parks. They love what we provide. And so that's kind of where recreation lives here. You can see it every day. People are recreating in Windsor no matter what the weather is, indoors and out, all year round. And so that's kind of where we came up with that tagline.
Cool. Oh, thank you.
Now I know you just talked about the slogan, but as a director, what are you most excited about for 2020 for our department?
2020 is a yet another banner year for our department. We have probably about $8 million in parks projects. The one that jumps out at me is our Riverwalk. So I've been director almost 5 years, and Windsor is very lucky. We have a river that runs through our town, yet we don't really utilize it in terms of, sure, the Pooter Trail goes by and you can see it, but in the world we live in today, everybody's connected to computers, their phones, their TVs. Kids don't get out and play as much. And so we spoke to the board, had a concept plan done, and they permitted us through the 2020 budget to start phase one of a Riverwalk at Eastman Park. And so this year you will see us put access in and access out within Eastman Park, so you could literally float on a tube or a kayak over a mile just within Eastman Park itself. So there's other amenities that are coming along with that, like fast tracking the Pooter Trail around Treasure Island Garden, adding about 180 parking spaces. But this is just phase one. So for me to get kids and people into our river, experiencing the river, allowing teachers to bring students down and do studies like macroinvertebrate studies, or just skip rocks. Get away from your cell phone, get away from your technology, and experience the world that really is surrounding this community. So I'm really looking forward to that. That one stands out to me as our top project for myself for this department, despite the fact that we have probably 30 other projects that we're also working on.
It's one of the projects that I'm kind of most interested in too. Our department, to kind of get off task a little bit, our department is, they gave us kind of the opportunity for kind of all employees to be a part of projects. And one of the projects that we can kind of volunteer to help out with was the Eastman Park Riverwalk that I'm a part of. And it's kind of cool to be a recreation coordinator doing kind of the tasks and events and stuff that I'm in charge of, but then also being part of a bigger project and a bigger picture to kind of see that twofold and see where that kind of goes and being a part of the decision making for that. So, perfect. All right, we'll start with, next question will be Wade. He's also known as our trail god.
Yes.
The question for you is kind of similar to kind of Eric's question, but just what are you most excited for in this year, 2020, in regards to open space and trails?
Yeah, great question. Aside from the Riverwalk, which is a monumental project, I built Eastman Park about 20 years ago, and so it's neat to see this next evolution and finally incorporating the river into that. But by the end of this year, we'll have about another 2 miles of trail constructed. Right now, we're underway with the Kiger Reservoir portion. That's a portion right at 392 and Colorado Boulevard, and that's going to connect with the River Bluffs Trailhead. And that's going to be a key linkage that will carry or help carry the Pooter Trail all the way into Fort Collins, which will be completed in the next 3 years. And then the other portion is actually kind of connecting across high hops to the reservoir, and then a trail connection to the south that'll connect to the existing Pooter Trail along Colorado Boulevard. So those are the big ones.
That's awesome. So Bob, you're next. From your perspective, what are you most excited about 2020 from a parks perspective?
So, 2020's got a lot to offer. I think that the biggest, with respect to parks, we completed the Village East Park and Windshire Park. Those came into fruition in 2019. I think while they're both similar in size of 3 acres, they both also offer very diverse recreational opportunities. On the project side, capital-wise, we've got the beautification landscape project going in on the right-of-way in front of the cemetery on 392 and 257. That'll feature kind of a xeriscape landscape design, if you will. And then we just finished a irrigation audit on 6 of our park systems last year. So we're excited to go in. The results of that, while they came in favorably, there were still some deficiencies. And so we're going to be addressing those and try to keep our park systems green this year.
So I have a question. How many parks do we have in Windsor?
Oh, gosh, we're up to 20.
We're 26 now.
26 now?
With plans for 5 more to get to build out in terms of parks, not talking about trails.
So we have a lot of places to be outside and go do stuff. So.
This is true.
Cool. All right, so Kendra, as our operations and facilities specialist or manager for the Community Recreation Center, what are you most excited for in regards to just the Recreation Center in general for 2020?
Sure. The Recreation Center is an incredibly busy place right now. So if you guys walk into that facility right now, you'll see people everywhere in busy spaces. 2019 was a record-breaking year for us. We had over 406,000 individuals through our front door. So with that number, we obviously expect to see more in 2020. It started off pretty strong in January. We've had quite a bit in our first month. New Year's resolutions play a big role in that, clearly. Usually we see a little bit of a drop-off, but at this point this year we have not seen that drop-off. So we continue to kind of take advantage of seeing that capacity and seeing those numbers, excel and always look at different opportunities and ways that we can get creative with our space, or maybe even figure out how we can, make people utilize other areas so that we can keep everybody pretty happy.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, Sarah, from your perspective, what are you most excited about for 2020?
Well, as always, the recreation department is buzzing. We always have our very popular summer concert series coming up, our Movies in the Park. We're actually partnering with some of our sponsors, and we're going to do some car karaoke prior to those Movies in the Park this year. Right now, we are seeking vendors for our farmers market, which is at Boardwalk Park under the new pavilion. So we're excited and hoping to get some new vendors on board to make that even more successful and get the word out about that event coming up. Athletics fill quick. So if you have kids that are going to be signing up for athletics, we actually recommend you sign them up right away, as we have found that in the past, and this spring especially, sections are filling quickly. Other than that, staff are grinding right now on that summer activity guide, which will come out towards the end of March. So we're busy planning. We had our first day camp parents sign up, and we actually filled in less than an hour. So unfortunately, summer camp is full for the summer, which I know a lot of parents probably haven't even spun their wheels on that topic yet. So just lots of busy programs. We had our Magical Forest last weekend and our daddy-daughter date night. Got some mother-son date nights coming up. Lots of small special events, some one-day events. So check out that activity guide, and we hope people get in there and have some fun.
Cool. Thank you. All right. Well, thank you for all of you to kind of give us just a taste of what 2020 brings for each of your kind of divisions, and then just overall as our department. One kind of last question we'll end off of is for this year, for 2020, we do have a smoke and vape free policy. Can any one of you kind of speak on kind of what it means for guests going to one of our parks and kind of the process it took to kind of initiate and make this policy happen?
Sure, that's a great question. You're right that the new ordinance and law went into effect on January 1 of 2020. We spent probably 6 months last year in partnership with the Weld County Health Department. We'd gotten a lot of complaints about smoking and vaping in our park system, especially at special events, concerts, and those kind of things. And then I'm not sure if you all know, but Colorado is one of the top, if not leading the nation in teen vaping, which as time goes by, we're learning that vaping is not a healthy thing for the body. So ultimately, went to the board after we did some public surveys and recognized that our community, excuse me, Windsor is a healthy community, and they don't want to be impacted by smoking and vaping. So requested that the board consider a ban of those activities in all of our parks and trails and open space systems, with the exception of you can, if you want to, smoke or vape in a parking lot. So we are really this year focused on education. I'm sure enforcement will come. So it is considered a criminal offense that the police can enforce if we need to. But we've spent a lot of time this year with educating staff. They all have cards. So if I come to the park and I see Logan or Josh smoking, as a staff member, I can walk up and say, "Hey guys, you're really not supposed to do this. And did you not see the sign when you walked in?" And not be confrontational, but just more educational, and hand them a card that has the ordinance on it, and hopefully they kind of get the hint and either go to the parking lot or hopefully put it out and maybe consider not smoking or vaping ever again. If we need to enforce it in terms of calling police, we will do that, but we're really hoping that people will read the signs, educate themselves. We as staff can educate, and people can make a park use or trail use experience a pleasant one and not be impacted by smoking and vaping.
Awesome. Thank you for that information. Appreciate it. All right, so kind of the few things we want to mention before we say goodbye. Our tree board meets on the fourth Tuesday of each month at 5 p.m. at the Rec Center, and then our pre-cab meets first Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. at the Community Recreation Center. Again, we kind of want to give it just a shout out to the Windsor High School video production students, as well as Mike Vaza, for just letting us use their equipment, their room, and then also doing the majority of the editing and stuff for this video. And then don't forget to visit our website. We have a new website that launched this year in 2020 called recreationliveshere.com, where you can find anything recreated-wise. And then don't forget to friend us on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget to tune in next week, as we will have another video of Recreation Lives Here.